Hello everyone, welcome to all of you. So in last lecture we have discussed about types of pollination. In that lecture we have gone through like cell pollination and cross pollination. We have looked on autogamy, geitonogamy and xenogamy. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about agents of pollination. Now, what type of agent? There are two types of agent. One is abiotic and one is biotic. So abiotic means non-living. So but obvious it is wind and water, right? And biotic means we can say it is zoophily. So there are so many agents like mammals, reptiles, birds, and insect. And we can say in a case of biotic agent, there are further types on the basis of various animal. For example, entomophilus. Entomophilus means pollinated through insect. Ornithophilus means pollinated through bird, and one is third one is Chiropterophilus means pollinated through bait, and Melacophilus means pollinated through slug and snail, and the last one is Myrmecophily means pollinated through ants. Now, as I stated earlier, plant use two abiotic, wind and water, and one biotic, for example, animals agent through achieve pollination. Now, majority of plant use biotic agent. Only small proportion of plant use abiotic agent. So, in case of water and wind pollination, here factor will be water and wind respectively, right? So, again, same case like animals. Here plant produce so many enormous amount of pollen grain because there is so many chance to get loss of this pollen grain. That's the reason, right? Compared to the ovule, or you can say compared to the eggs. Now, abiotic pollination, first one it is a wind pollination, or we can say it is anemophily. So what would be a characteristic of such pollination flower, or pollen grain? So in wind pollination, pollen grain would be a light and non-sticky, so that they can be transported in wind current. And some pollen grain also possess wing like structure, and some more characteristic like they often possess well exposed stamen. You can see here it is well exposed, so when wind current will be there, so it can easily sheds, and large often feathery stigma to easily trap airborne pollen grain. And wind pollinated flower often have a single ovule in each ovary and numerous flower packed into an inflorescence. A familiar example we can state it in case of this cone. So this is male portion and this is female portion, right? So when wind current will be there, so it will help, you know and that's the reason this pollen grain will shed on this female portion, and it will get pollinated through wind. And as I stated earlier, in case of this wind pollination flower, it has a structure like feathery, right? So that was a wind pollination. Now let's move on to the another type. It is water pollination or hydrophily. So pollination by water is quite rare in flowering plant, and is limited to about 30 genera only, mostly monocotyledon. So you need to remember this thing, right? We have stated earlier in case of algae, bryophyte, pteridophyte, like they were using this water to transfer their gamete, in case of this algae, bryophyte and pteridophyte. So it is believed, particularly for some bryophyte and pteridophyte, actually the distribution of this bryophyte and pteridophyte, it is limited. Why? Because for transfer of gamete they require water. That's the reason that distribution it is very limited. Some example of water pollinated plant we can say it is Vallisneria and Hydrilla, and some more example we can state it is marine sea grasses and Zostera. So in Vallisneria, you can see here female flower reach the surface of water by a long stalk. You can see here this is female flower and this is male flower. So this is stigma of female flower, right? So from this male flower, pollen grain will you know come through this water current, and it will reach to the stigma, and somehow this stigma it is also attracting this pollen grain through some reaction, right? So and this pollen grain will reach to the stigma, and because this pollination take place by water, that's the reason it is hydrophily, and they are carried through passively, right? Now in case of sea grasses, you can see here also female portion, it is submerged underwater, submerged, and somehow from the male flower pollen grain will come and it will you know pollinate this flower. So again this pollination it is taking place through water, that's the reason it is hydrophile in case of sea grasses also. Now what would be a characteristic of pollen grain of hydrophily? So pollen grain in many such species, it would be a long ribbon like, and they are carried passively inside the water. And in most of the water pollinated species, pollen grain are protected from wetting by a mucilaginous covering. So it has some mucilage, some sticky covering, so through which it cannot dry, right? So both wind and water pollinated flowers are not very colorful and do not produce nectar. You need to remember this thing, right? So what would be a reason behind this, why they are not producing nectar and they are not colorful? So the reason is they don't need to attract pollinators like honeybee and other insect involved in pollination. They don't need to attract this insect. That's the reason they are not colorful and they do not produce nectar, right? And you need to note down one thing, that not all aquatic plants use water for pollination. In case of water hyacinth and water lily, you can see here this is water hyacinth. So flower it is emerge above the level. You can see here the position of flower, it is above the water level, and that's the reason it cannot pollinate through water, right? So what question may be asked to you, through which process this water hyacinth it get pollinated? So on the basis of name you will guess that it would be a hydrophily, right? But this imagination goes wrong, because you will imagine from this name, so it is not right. So it is pollinated through wind. So water hyacinth and water lily pollinated through wind means anemophily can observe in case of this water hyacinth and water lily. Now let's move on to the biotic agent. So we have already discussed about this name, right? In this topic especially we are going to discuss about this entomophilus. So majority of flowering plant use a range of animal, for example bees, butterflies, other fleas, beetles, wasp, ant and moth. So this is entomophilus. And birds pollinated through birds, especially sunbirds. So in case of birds where flower it is pollinating, so we can say it is ornithophilus. And pollinating through bats, so we can say it is Chiropterophilus. Now among the animals, insect particularly bees are the dominant biotic pollinating agent. You need to remember this thing. And you can also recall dialogue of My Name is Khan movie, where Shah Rukh Khan was he was telling to Farah Khan that once all honeybees are died, so this world gonna die in few decades. Why? Because if honeybee they are not there, so plant cannot pollinate themselves, right? Now even large animal, for example primates, lemur, arboreal, you can see here this is lemur and this is flying lizard. So they are also helping for the this pollination process. Now you can see here in case of this bed, so this is flower of Nepenthes. So this flower provide accommodation to this bed, and in return this bed will pollinate this flower, right? Now biotic agent, what would be a characteristic of flower, you know which are pollination which is pollinate through this biotic agent? So often flower of animal pollinated plant are specially adapted for a particular species of animal. There are so many symbiotic relationship between particular species of plant and particular species of animal. So majority of insect pollinated flower are large, colorful, fragrant and rich in nectar. Why? Because these are the characteristic which is able to attract some insect or some animals. That's the reason. So when the flower are small, So a number of flower cluster into a inflorescence. You can see here in case of this flower are small, so they come to form, they come to each other to form one cluster, so it can make them conspicuous. Now animals are attracted to flower by color and fragrance. In case of fleas and beetles, so flower, they are pollinated through these fleas and beetles. They secrete foul odor, so it can attract such fleas and beetles. You can see here beauty of this various flower. This is honeybee and this is butterfly. So they are pollinating this flower, right? And you can see here how much they are colorful and how much they are attracting. Now, to sustain animal visit, the flower have to provide some reward, and usually nectar and pollen grain are the usual floral reward. So flower will give some reward, and in return, this animal will pollinate that flower. So for harvesting the reward from the flower, the animal visitor come in contact with the anther and stigma, and when it will come with the contact of this anther and stigma, so body of that animal get a coating of pollen grain, which are generally sticky in animal pollinated flowers. So pollen grain, it is so much sticky, and that's the reason it will stuck with that particular animal. So when the animal carrying pollen on its body come in contact with the stigma, it brings about pollination. You can see this is hummingbird. Actually, they are sucking some nectar, and by filling this purpose, they are also filling purpose of pollination, right? Now in some species, floral reward are in providing safe place to lay egg. An example we can say tallest flower of Amorphophallus. You can see here it is about 6 feet taller, right? So animal will lay egg inside this flower. So for animal it is accommodation which is providing by this flower, and in return animal will pollinate this flower. So you can see here this is so much tall flower, right? Now a similar relationship in case of this moth and yucca flower. You can see here both of these cannot complete their life cycle without each other, because moth deposit egg inside a locule of that ovary of that flower, and the flower in turns get pollinated by the moth. So when larvae of the moth come out of the egg, as the seeds start developing. So again both of this moth and yucca flower cannot complete their life cycle without each other. So this is a symbiotic relationship, right? You can see here some more images. This is yucca flower, and this is this moth living inside this flower. So this is one practice you need to do. Kindly you can check in your area, for example flower of cucumber, mango, people, whatever flower are available inside your area. So you can go there and you can visit and you can observe which are the pollinators are coming, and what kind of behavior is there. And but obvious you will get some information, but there is some chance you may not get information, but you will surely enjoy your efforts, right? So this is some small practice you can do in nearby area. All right, so thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, so kindly subscribe this channel and share with your friends. Lectures are available in both the languages, so you can check playlist and kindly check previous lecture. I will drop the link of that lecture in description box. All right, thank you.